Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, these are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Wednesday Wisdom guest, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. We want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for your kids, your coaches. How about parents, sponsors? Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out these great products today. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. Our coaches, our athletes, even our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success, and so will you. It's so easy to use and so effective. SnapRaise works. Go to snapraise.com for more information. We want to say thanks to our friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling or rosters, even results. Their athletic clearance and eligibility platform is the gold standard. You really have to see it to believe it. Go to Home Campus. Don't forget to mention the podcast. Let them get you going on the Home Campus team. We'd like to thank Gipper for their support. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing expert for your athletic department. It might just be a simple social media post to celebrate a victory, or it can be an entire online newsletter to showcase all the great things that your athletic department is doing in the community. The team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We'd like to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. It's probably one of the best purchases that I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to get started. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio University program, and it was a great experience. Go to Ohio University's website and check out their online masters in athletic administration. We'd also like to thank Hometown for their support. Go to hometown.com. They're changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes things like online ticketing. They're still the number one program. Athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an AD, a coach, or a school administrator, Hometown makes it easy for you to save time, raise more money, and bring your entire community together. That's hometown.com. Check them out today. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that type of positive feedback is incredibly valuable, especially when you're talking with that frustrated parent. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Wednesday Wisdom on the Education Lady podcast. Regular listeners will recognize the game. Kirsten Jones, she's been on a number of times. She's somebody I like to call a friend of the show. If you're new, you need to Google Kirsten Jones. She was a very successful college athlete, worked with Nike for years. Recently, she's authored a best selling book, Raising Empowered Athletes. She also hosts her own podcast. She's a professional speaker. She is certainly a leader in this space that we call education based athletics. Kirsten Jones, welcome back to Wednesday Wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me back. I love being on this and talking with you and these are my people.
Well, you and I were talking before we came on. Kirsten's very active on social media. Again, you need to add her podcast to your listening library. But she made a post a while back about, I think sometimes student athletes and parents and coaches, they kind of struggle with, let's say, balancing, for lack of a better word, there's summer. And I just said, yes, this is a message we need to, shout from the mountaintop. So I asked her to come back on. Kirsten, I'm going to get out of the way. What do you have for our listeners on Wednesday Wisdom?
Yeah, so it's really hard. It's hard as a coach, it's hard as a parent. Of course, I think the age-old adage that we heard growing up was you get better in the off season. And having worked at Nike for 15 years, I remember that was always like the summer ball was what it was all about, which is true. But as we know, with the professionalization of youth sports, when we were growing up and playing, we rotated sports, we played multiple sports, we had built-in time off. Now, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends athletes take 2 months off in between sports. It's almost laughable, right? Because if you play travel and you play high school or play for your school team, the one season will finish on a Friday, and on the Monday they're like, "Great, we'll see you for tryouts for if you're, for the school season." So how do we build in space because they aren't professional athletes? And what we know are 70% of kids are dropping out of sport altogether by age 13. Girls are dropping out at twice the rate of boys. Why? I think part of it is because they're getting exhausted. They're getting overwhelmed. They're having injuries. I hear that all the time. I was on someone else's podcast, actually from Florida as well, the other day, and he said, I got a new kid coming in. He's ninth grade. He's really excited to be here. And he said, son, what do you do? He's like, well, I'm a baseball player, but I won't be playing this year. He said, why? He's like, well, I'm just coming off of a Tommy John's, surgery, so I'm going to need to take a whole year off, right? No parent, no coach, no person who cares about their athletes wants to see that happen to a young athlete. So how do we protect that? We've got to do that proactively, right? We've got to be thinking about them. And sometimes it means holding in the reins a little bit and helping be the guardrails for them. Because when you have a great athlete, they're chomping at the bit, they're ready to go, they're going to do whatever you want. So if you're a coach who happens to be a parent, here's some advice. Here's my, kind of words of wisdom. Take it for what it's worth. But I would start, and this is coming out at the beginning of summer, start with a family meeting. And coaches, encourage your families to do this. Sit down. Okay, let's pretend like it's August 31st, family. What do we want to say we accomplished this summer? Yes, we want to go to the state cup, and yes, we want to travel to, with the team to go to this tournament or be a part of this all-star event or this camp. And what are we going to do as a family? Are we camping in the backyard? Are we rafting the river? Are we going to the lake with family? What is the downtime that we're baking in to make sure, and all of us and parents, we need to model this, right? Like we've got to, I'm doing that to my husband subtly right now. I'm telling my kids, just book the tea time on a Friday at 2 so that dad will get away from the laptop and he will go have some fun too. We can all do more. And we live in this 24/7 world of, you can be answering the email, you can be answering the Slack, you can be texting all the time, but we humans need time to recharge. And for our youth, it goes double because the number one growth opportunity for them requires sleep. When they sleep, that is a superpower. So giving our kids the opportunity to sleep, younger, under the age of 12 or 13, 8 to 10 hours a night. When they get older, okay, or 10 to 12 when they're younger, 8 to 10 when they're older. But teenage years, that's how muscle repair happens. That's how the brain develops and grows. That's how they actually become nicer human beings to their parents, right? When you're dealing with those teenage years where they know more than you. All of these are really important. So number one, get the family meeting, write them down. What are the big goals that each of us have individually? What would we want to be talking about, at the end of the summer? Number two, boredom. This is something we don't do anymore, right? Like, and I think about it even down to the most basic level. Like sometimes in the grocery store line, and there's three people in front of me, I challenge myself, just stand here. Don't look at your phone. You don't need to constantly be entertaining yourself or looking for, something to do, right? Like bake in boredom. Some of the best, the mother of invention comes from creativity. Well, creativity can't happen when we're constantly consuming. So instead of consumption, be a creator. I had this great interview with Oprah. I think it was like 15 years ago, and she was interviewing Ralph Lauren's kids, who obviously are incredibly wealthy. And she said, "So tell me, what was the best summer vacation you ever had?" And they said, "Well, we have this cabin in the middle of Colorado, and we would go outside the cabin and stand on opposite sides of the cabin and toss a ball up over the tin roof and try to figure out where it was going to drop off on the other side. We would do that for hours." And Oprah says, "Wait, no, no, no. You have private planes and staff, and you can go anywhere in the world, and you want to stand on either side of a cabin and play catch?" Yes. Like those are the things our kids, is it going fishing? Is it building mud? We would find frogs. I grew up in Montana. We would find frogs and build little houses for them, right? Take hours that we would, and then build little tunnels for the frogs to go through. Like allowing them to be creative in ways that they don't get to be with the 24/7 grind of school and sports. And, I work with athletes, and a lot of times I'm getting on calls with them at 8 or 9 o'clock at night on a school night because that's the only window they have, right? Summer should not be that regulated. And number three, which I think is really important, is learning something new, having a beginner's mindset. So, what are you, parent, coach, administrator, doing that's putting you outside of your comfort zone? And then showing your kids, like, hey, I want you to, I know you're going to, be on my baseball squad in the fall, and I really want you to work in the batting cages. But have you ever tried cooking or baking or, pick up Duolingo and pick up a new language? I don't care what it is. Teaching, if you're a baseball player, or my son right now, he's home from college. He's a basketball player. He's got three clients that are all 16, 14, and 12. He's coaching somebody else, right? So teaching, giving back is a great way to learn. And he's like, "Gosh, I don't even think about how I do a layup anymore. But when I'm teaching 8-year-old Gavin, I need to think about it, right?" So having a family meeting, having a team meeting, even for coaches, go to your, say, parents, like, this is what I want you to do so that you have some tools and you have some baked in downtime, because you're going to get a better kid and you're going to get a better parent when they show up in the fall if they've had the moment to recharge. If they're only grinding, if they haven't had that baked in boredom, like actually work for it. Try to listen for that. "Well, I'm just bored." Yay, that's winning. Okay, now what are you going to do? And number three, what can you learn this summer? What's something new that you haven't tried or you haven't done since you were a kid that will then, spark some ideas? Because when we get creative, then we start thinking about what other things we love. Then we even think about, oh, I could do this in a different way. I could improve my baseball game because I hadn't thought about it from this angle, right? So it's not only helping you from, the obvious level of trying something new, it's also probably going to, 1 or 2 or 5x what you're actually trying to accomplish. So those are my top tips for the summer. I think when we have the time off, because now we have kids that are, I was talking to a dad yesterday, his 9-year-old is playing 4 sports, right? And he's trying, he called me in a panic. He's like, I read your book. I listened to your podcast. Am I doing too much? Is he not doing enough? What if I have him stop one of them now and that's supposed to be the sport that he's supposed to do and we give it up at 9? Will he never make it? Pump the brakes. Go on the camping trip, whatever it is. Take the downtime. And actually, he said, and he goes, and I have a 7-year-old who told me, Dad, I think this travel soccer is getting in the way of my summer. Like, they're telling you. They're telling you what they need and what they want. But no, 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 because we get into that, like, no, 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 more is more, and we need more. We don't always need more. We need allow to listen to them. They're very wise, and they're trying to tell you what they need, but we need to be open to hearing it too.
Well, everything you said is just spot on, and I'm glad that you brought up, your own kids. You were an elite athlete. You know the drill. You did three sports in high school, but your own kids. That you, and again, you talk about this in your book. They had the opportunity to kind of grow and make their own decisions. I shared this with you before we started recording the Chipper Jones uh, social media post where he's telling people, our family, we're not going to do the travel ball in the AAU. We're going to enjoy our summers. We're going to, take time off. And this is from a Hall of Famer. I'm curious, the clients that you work with, how many of the parents, what percentage were athletes versus were not athletes? Because I want to say, and I could be wrong, that many of them that are putting their kids in these 3 and 4 sports at 8 and 9 years old, sending them to elite, 10-year-old camps, didn't play sports and they really don't understand, I guess a better way to do it. So am I right based on your experience or am I all wet?
So your hypothesis is exactly what I wrote the book under. And I'm like, that's totally the case, that parents who know, they know, but it's shifted. And I've had 5 dads reach out to me in the last month who all played D1 or pro. I had an NFL guy, I had a guy that coached high school, played in college, had 4 All-Americans in college, 2 Division I soccer players. And what they're saying is, I'm dysregulated. I know how, and most of them come from a good place. Like, I had so much fun doing that in college, or I had a really bad experience and I don't want my kid to have that experience. So they're trying to help them navigate it in a different way. But they also are like, I just want them to, embrace it and really go for it. But what's happening is they're so dysregulated that the NFL guy is like, I'm totally ruining it for my kids. I got your book. And he goes, I had a sports psychologist. I know how mentally challenging it is. And I'm that dad that's yelling the whole way home in the car. Like, what is wrong with me? And I just, congratulations. I believe we need to name it to tame it. You've got to have self-awareness of what it is. And even if you're not the yeller, even if you just feel like the dad I had on the phone yesterday, he's like, he goes, I'm embarrassed to admit how many sleepless nights I've had, and he was a D1 soccer player, how many sleepless nights I've had over whether my son is going to make the twos team in soccer. He's 9, right? Sleepless nights. And I laugh, but I don't think that's abnormal anymore because they're starting so young. Whereas compared to our generation, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think my parents had sleepless nights when I went into the transfer portal in college. Like, they were like, oh, it's easy, Kirsten. I guess you're done playing volleyball. Go get a college degree. Whereas now we're so invested so early that and the social media and the talking about it, and it's a $37.5 billion business on its way to 70 billion. We are all caught up in all of our social life, all of our, value, everything that you see. And heaven forbid my 9-year-old stops playing for a summer or even a moment because they'll be behind.
Right.
And that's not the way this works. If they are talented and you can talk to all the NBA and NFL and all the guys, and if they have the passion 5 or 7 or 10 years from now, that's going to be the number one driver. And if their body is still intact, right? Like, there's so many elements. Less than 4% will go on to play D1, D2, D3, NAIA, any level.
Hmm.
This isn't about the trophy or the podium or going pro. This is about giving them the tools they need to be successful.
I want to pick your brain on another topic. You talked about the importance, and parents, if you're listening to this, or coaches or ETs, again, Kirsten's made some great points. You talked about the importance of rest, taking some time off between seasons, taking time off during the season, rest and recovery. That's when you get stronger, faster, et cetera, when you're recovering. Um, here, and we talked about, parents thinking that, the specialization, et cetera, and all the extra training is so critical. Um, what have you come across in working with your clients? We hear this all the time, and it was brought to me in an interview maybe a couple of weeks ago. Somebody my age was talking about, when we were kids, we're we're in the backyard, we're playing, and there's games and there's fights, and the parents they weren't there watching. They didn't even know we were in the backyard. We were riding our bikes all over town. I still remember riding our bikes to the pool, hiding them in the bushes, climbing over the fence so we wouldn't have to pay the 50 cents. Um, Now parents, many parents, they they're involved, but they also want to remove any chance of failure for their kids, either in training or competition, not realizing that, again, that's where you get better. When you try something, you fail, and then the coach is there to help you up and, hey, let's try that again. Do you encounter that with parents now, this fear of failure for their kids? And even I want to laser focus that for the D1 NFL pro athletes that went through that now as parents, are they trying to remove failure from their own kids because they don't want them to feel bad?
In Southern California right now, I live in LA. They've been tracking these two eagles that have been on this nest in the San Bernardino Mountains, and there were three eggs. And all through the winter, the mother and the father would take turns sitting on the nest, like they had a camera there and showing them completely covered in snow. And then a month or so ago, the eggs cracked open. Two of the three have survived. Now the two baby eaglets are now as big as mom and dad, and they show them on the branches practicing flying. And then just this week, one of them took off, and they said they'll probably never see him again. But sure enough, the eaglet came back, and here's mom bringing a fish back, and they're all having a meal, and the other eaglet's practicing, and they're getting ready to go. Right? Like, and eventually those two are going to leave the nest, and these two eagles are going to be like, high five, job well done, right? We are doing the opposite. We are, we're going to put the nest up higher. We're going to move it to a different state. We're going to keep them home. Don't fly off you're going to fall. Your wings aren't ready yet. Like, we're doing everything to quit clip. And of course, not intentionally, but even the highest level parents have played at the highest level of sports. We are so caught up in the FOMO of what everybody else, the fear of missing out of, well, they're doing the private coaching and they're going to this, elite camp, and we're going to be behind. And what we know is the kids who really truly enjoy the ride beyond just, going to the summer camp, they're going to do the work that's going to be required to get there. So yes, we're seeing it at all levels. I think it's quite unfortunately unavoidable unless you're living in the middle of Montana, maybe where you don't have, the access to all of that. But I would argue that you're probably going to see some of the best and the healthiest. And by healthiest, I mean not only physically, but mentally strong, mentally resilient, mentally tough, because they're bucking bales in the summer, and they're, working on the farm, and they're playing football in the fall, and they're doing all the things and having much more work-life balance. And that's why I think so many kids are just saying, you know what, this isn't for me. But what it's leading to is lack of agency. And that's why our kids don't want to leave the nest, because they don't know how to. They've never stood on the limb and tried to flap their wings
Right.
on their
Mhm.
own. We've kept them safe and close, and we think we're doing the right thing by, no, 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 don't go to the edge of the nest. Stay here in the middle. But they need to go out and try, a couple trial runs in order for it to get to
Wow.
work.
You talking about the Eagles again? You're 100% right. You reminded me of this story that I heard from somebody else, and like any good presenter, I stole it, and now I use it in my parent presentations. It's about the emperor moth, and it describes the struggle to come out of the cocoon, and that one day a guy saw this happening, and it seemed he thought the moth had given up, so he took the cocoon home and with some tiny, tiny scissors just kind of snipped the cocoon away so the moth could come out. And he was waiting for it to, and it was just this big bulbous blob with tiny, tiny wings. And he was waiting for it to, the wings to expand and grow, uh, not realizing that it's that struggle coming out of the cocoon that forces all of that fluid out of the body and into the wings. So it becomes this beautiful emperor moth and can fly away. And I have slides and everything I show to the parents, and they're crying by the end of the presentation. But the metaphor is spot on, that it's the struggle that we are able to fly, if you will, and have success. So, boy, Chris, we could do this for another hour. At least I could.
Yeah.
If one of our listeners wants to find out more, and listeners, you have a tremendous resource here. How do they reach out? How do they get on your mailing list? How do they get the book? How do people find out more about Kirsten Jones?
Thank you so much for having me on. I always enjoy our conversations. KirstenJonesInc.com is my website. On there, you can find the podcast, Raising Athletes. You can find the book. Amazon's probably the easiest place to buy the book, but actually, I was on Libby, the library app. You can find it on library app. You can find it on Spotify, the Audible version, which if you're a parent, having it on in the car is I've heard a lot of parents who use that technique too, and it's good for the kids. I've had a couple clients that say I had to listen to it. I got a lot of crazy parents on my team, so the kids love it too. So that's great. And then I have a Substack that I write almost weekly about the life lessons, about the struggles, to try to share. When we know better, we do better, and when we help and support each other, that's what this journey is about. And the more I can be a guide and a resource, I do motivational speaking. I speak with schools and clubs. And so if I can be a resource for your school, I love to, that's my real jam, is obviously helping motivate, inspire, and give tools to parents, athletes, administrators, and everyone who's raising an empowered leader.
Yeah, if you're looking for a great speaker to come in for like a kickoff sports meeting, with your parents or your coaches, you should certainly give Kirsten Jones a call, see what she can do for you. Kirsten, thanks again for sharing with our audience. All the best for a great summer. Hopefully, you'll get some downtime. Again, we're Facebook friends, so I get to follow all your adventures. But hopefully, we'll get you out here to Florida soon, and we can take you out on the lake for a sunset cruise.
I'm taking you up on that. Absolutely.
Okay. For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Wednesday Wisdom just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics along with some best practices. So come back and join us next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Hey, before we go, of course, we want to give a shout out to all of our great sponsors one more time. Let's say thanks to Gipper. Become a world-class marketing guru for social media. Go to Gipper.com. Vital Signs Wall of Fame, great tool to show off your school record boards or your Hall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. We want to say thanks to Snap Raise. If you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com for more information. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. That's athleticsurveys.com. Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Home Campus, it's a platform you'll use every single day. Go to homecampus.com. If you're looking to get your master's degree, in athletic administration, you need to look at Ohio University's program. And Hometown. Hometown's changing the game for ADs and coaches, even principals. Go to hometown.com for more information. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.